Hi, hi, I'm Julie, and this is my show, Hidden Strength. Abby asked me a couple of years ago if I'd like to do something, and I said yes, not knowing what I would do, but these are kind of the images that emerged. About 20 years ago, I painted uh, my first images of butterflies emerging from things in watercolor, and then I ended up switching to oil, and I just didn't continue the series until I had this opportunity. And so I started by repainting uh, Stronger Than I Know. I had done that one in watercolor and had always wanted to try it in oil. So I just started there, hoping that ideas would start rolling, and they kind of did. Um, and this is the result. I think a lot of these images come from my personal experience, of course, but I think they're experiences that we all um, encounter in life. Um, and they come from dark places, so maybe that's where the dark backgrounds come from. Although I think part of the dark backgrounds for me um, give a sense that these are spiritual uh, images, spiritual feelings. Um, It'd be hard to. I thought about painting some with like a cloudy sky or something, but it does give them a totally different feeling. I think my favorite, as far as my technical favorite, in, in, might be Released, the butterfly coming out of the egg. Although that is also a favorite emotionally. As I told Abby, it's very hard for me to talk about these images. When I was a kid, I used to write, and I think everyone thought I might be a writer. But for some reason, when I started painting, I seem to have lost all my words. And it's like if I could express this stuff with words, uh, I might not have these images. They're all images of what things feel like to me, anyway. And I just, in talking to people, I think a lot of people know what these feelings are as well. Um, a lot of people have really connected with Fragile, the butterfly with the sticks of dynamite as its body, and that is kind of another image of Fragile as a bomb, uh, which is a whole different take on strength. A lot of these are about um, strength and overcoming, but that image is has more a sense of danger to it. Um, as in danger to other people versus ourselves, I suppose, or just danger to situations that we're going to change in a drastic way, maybe. I think something significant to me in a lot of these over time, uh, the broken egg, the broken chrysalis as the butterflies emerge, is that these are situations where once something emerges, there's no going back. You can't go back into the shell, and you can't go back into the chrysalis. They're broken, and um, so that's kind of a sense of permanent change, I suppose. I have a couple more images for the series, I think. It's hard to say if I'll continue or not. And simply, I think it's because for the longest time, I mean, there was almost a 20-year gap between painting the watercolor version and then going on to the oil series. Uh, and it's because I had to live through them. So it does take experience to prompt a lot of these. And I do have a couple more that I want to do that are about grief. And, it's interesting to think why I don't have any cheerful images for this series. Although I think there's a lot of hopefulness in many of them. It's not a series of feeling trapped. It's a series of transformation through difficulties, I believe. Um, so I suppose as long as I'm living, there's going to be transformation. This is a piece, actually, Living by Faith, that no one really asks about, which I find kind of interesting. I don't know what is going through people's heads. So if you ever want to contact me with thoughts that you have, that would be fun. But it's really about the fact that, this plant is, plants need soil, they need water to survive, and yet this plant is thriving and blossoming without those things. And I guess that's where the living by faith comes in. It's faith that is keeping it growing. And just talk about each image. I guess chrysalis. I'm an introvert. And so I think a lot of us introverts feel like we are in a chrysalis. We're in this contained area where we're growing and changing, and maybe it's not obvious to other people. Doing the inner work, actually, my contractor loved this one and he's the one who bought it, because he says that's what they do, they transform things. So, but yeah, that's just the process itself. I guess we've all heard about what it takes for a butterfly to emerge from a cocoon, and how if you try to help it on its way, you're actually going to harm the butterfly because the strength they gather in struggling out of the cocoon. So inner work, or any transformation, inner transformation, is very much work. And Stronger Than I Know, that for me has always been an image of how things happen, terrible things happen, death, for instance. And there's something in us that just inherently screams that that's wrong. We all know that no one thinks that death is something that should be. And so to me, it's kind of like butterflies were never created to carry burdens. And we weren't somehow created to experience death. And so that's why it feels so wrong. Underestimated. Boy, we've all been there. And can't talk about that one so much. I started painting here in Colorado Springs. I was in my late 30s, actually, so I was a late bloomer. I studied a lot with local artists, Chris Alvarez, being one of the main oil painters I've worked with. But a lot of it's just practice, practice, practice. And I do love it. I've always loved art. My grandfather was an artist, my aunt was an artist. So it's in the family. Well, thank you indeed for listening, and please come see the show. It's only up until the end of the month, and it may be quite a while before I have any more images like this, but I hope you enjoy them.